Hi everyone, I hope everyone's doing well. I'm going to do a light language transmission for release. There seems to be a lot of stuck energy from like past heartache, past disappointment, feeling like you missed opportunities, particularly in relationships. Which is no surprise that most of us are relationship oriented. But just a lot of very dense energy that it's time to let it go. It's time to let it go. And accept, the harshness of the reality that maybe you did really lose something that was very special to you. And again, that's all perception and how we see it now. But there's a lesson that's to be learned. But nevertheless, it sucks. It sucks to be healing from heartache. And this doesn't necessarily have to be romantic. This could be family dynamics. This could be a work dynamic. This could be a career, a life path that you left, or maybe you were removed from. I don't know. I've been removed from a couple of my own life paths, or career paths for that matter. But all joking aside, we tend to hold on to it because a lot of times we get this idea, this illusion that if we were to let it go and release it or accept what is, that somehow maybe what was done to us will be forgotten, or it will somehow mean it didn't matter. And that's just simply not true. The word we use is forgiveness, but I don't, that's in our English language, and I don't think it really fits this idea of release. I think that there's other cultures that have better words in their language for what I'm trying to describe. But it's really about, what's the best way to describe it? It's really about just accepting what is and meeting that situation at ground point, and understanding that the less we can put blame and focus resentment or even regret, because some of us turn that inwards versus outwards, the less we can just accept what is, the easier it is to release. Because it all matters. It all matters. And even if it doesn't matter 10 years later, 5 years later, 5 months later, in this very moment or in that moment when you were working through it, it did matter. And I think us rejecting that, because what we learn is that if somehow we were ill-fated or something negative or hurtful happened to us, that all of a sudden we just shouldn't care about that situation, that relationship, that circumstance. And frankly, that's not true. We form attachments, whether we want to or not. I mean, that's just, there's even an energy, it's called courting. Even when you're not trying, even as you're walking down the street, you may be courting, and not courting, but courting other people. Because if we're not healed on the inside, our ego, it's kind of like our baby soul, wants to find some type of nurturing or wants to find some type of strength, and then attaches to even strangers. So getting yourself in a situation or in a position that you can accept what is and then release yourself from it creates space for something new to come in. Now, whether that's a new version of what left or a completely different version of what left is solely up to you. That's what your blueprint, your life path decides, not anybody else, you. But I think one of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten from anyone was, in a time that I was just hurting so deep. And during that, and had valid reason to be hurting from coming at me from everywhere, whether it was part of my doing or mostly, particularly one other person's doing, or what I perceived it. And even as I'm talking, I still struggle with that. I still want to go back to, it's all, his fault. And the truth is that it's no one's fault. But nevertheless, I was hurting. And when something terrible happens to us, what we're taught is to get angry and get mad and reject. But the heart often, if we're really in love with someone, it doesn't do that, at least not immediately. And I don't know if that's even the best practice to do ever. But given what we know right now, we're told to just hate that person and just kick them out and never even think about them again. Don't waste our energy. But our hearts don't necessarily do that. And I remember I was just struggling. I was suffering. Because I wouldn't allow myself to love that person. And allowing, someone said, Jess, do you want me to tell you it's okay for you to love him? And instantly, immediately, when someone did that for me, and I happened to be a therapist, when she did that for me, that altered me. Now, that doesn't mean that everything became easy thereafter after, but that changed the trajectory of the path I was on. When I felt like I was given permission to feel something that my upbringing, my society, my neighborhood, my reality had told me I shouldn't do. And if I did that, there was something wrong with me. So, if anything, it's just to remember that there's nothing wrong with you. You can feel however you want to feel, whether the world agrees with it or they don't. That's not important. What's important is that you feel it, you decide whether you want to hold on to it or if you don't, and then you do something to help you either A, hold on to it, or B, release. And again, that's a process, but just making that decision sets you on a path. And hopefully you have people, if you are struggling with this concept that you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't feel this way, and hopefully there is someone that, connects with you enough in that moment and recognizes that maybe you need a little help in saying that it's okay. You can feel that. You should feel that. You can feel any way you want to. And if you don't have anyone that is in that space with you, because for whatever reason they can't be, I'm in that space with you right now. Whether you know me or you don't know me. I'm someone who cares and someone that's been in a position that's probably similar. And I want to let you know that it is okay. It's okay for you to still deeply care for that connection or that situation or that job, even if it did screw you in the end. And feel into that. Feel into that. And when you're done feeling into it, again, you get to decide when you're done, then start doing the healing process of it. But not that you need it, but I give you permission to feel whatever your heart wants to feel. And if you need more energetic support, whether that's through intuitive Reiki healing, rebalancing, coming and processing through some of those emotions, asking spiritual guidance, I offer all of those services. So please feel free to message me. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the light language transition. I guess I was supposed to be transitioning this a long time ago, but I just talk all the time. Okay, so I'm sorry. All right. Let me see if I can get this played. All right, here we go. I think it's gonna play. yourself.